Former astronaut and retired Navy Captain Mark Kelly spent Thursday and Friday visiting Graham and Greenlee counties. The Democratic frontrunner is vying for the late Senator John McCain's seat, which is currently held by retired Air Force Colonel Martha McSally, who was appointed to her position by Governor Doug Ducey after narrowly being defeated by Senator Kyrsten Sinema. Kelly spoke during a Democratic Party event Friday at the Blue Door Sanctuary in Clifton and outlined his reasons for running for Congress, which includes health care reform.
But it's great to be here in Greenlee County. I have to say it's kind of unexpected that I find myself running for the United States Senate. My wife, Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, she was the member of Congress in our family. And I often think to myself, if something would have happened to me, if I would have been injured, would Gabby have become an astronaut? Well, she will tell you yes, but I'm not so sure about that. But I also have to say that this is one of the more intimidating things I've done since the very first time I walked up to the space shuttle on my first flight to launch into space. Running for the United States Senate is actually that space shuttle flight, the first one, is the only thing that I can compare this to. It actually feels a little bit like that. But here's the thing. We've got serious issues in this country that I don't feel Washington, D.C. is doing a good job addressing. Actually, they're doing a pretty poor job. Things like making sure everybody has good health care coverage, that they're not going to get kicked off of when they get sick, that they can get if they have a pre-existing condition, and that they can afford, where premiums and deductibles and the price of prescription drugs does not continue to spiral out of control. Like creating an economy that works for everybody, where one generation can expect to make more money than the previous generation for doing the same job. Like protecting Medicare and Social Security. And veterans issues. I served in the Navy for 25 years. And as I travel around the state of Arizona, I often find that veterans are not getting the services that they were promised for their service in the U.S. military. And what angers me is that Washington, D.C. isn't even trying. They're not even trying to solve these problems. And our political system, it's kind of broken. And it's broken for a couple of reasons. One is, and I think the primary reason our system is broken, is because of the corporate money that goes into political campaigns to get specific people elected to office. And it needs to stop. And because of this situation with corporate money in politics, we have people that are elected to office that are more beholden to corporations and political parties than they are to the citizens of their state.
Prior to the event, Kelly told the Gila Herald that he would be an on-hand senator for the region and outlined how he believes the country should move forward in addressing how to curb gun violence in the wake of multiple mass shootings. Kelly's own wife, former Representative Gabrielle Giffords, was one of the victims in a mass shooting at Safeway Supermarket on January 8, 2011. Giffords was severely injured when a mentally ill man armed with a Glock pistol loaded with a 33-round magazine shot 19 people, killing 6.
Yesterday we were at Eastern Arizona College. I had the opportunity already today to go to Metcalf Elementary School. I'm going to go to Solomon Elementary School later. We went to the hospital on the San Carlos Apache Reservation. We're going to I'm going to go to the Mount Graham Medical Center later today. I did a walking tour of Clifton with the mayor yesterday. So it's an opportunity for me to try to understand what the folks here in this part of the state, southeastern Arizona, what the issues that they're thinking about and what matters most to them. Because if I'm elected to the United States Senate, my job is to represent, everybody, the entire state. So I need to know what's going on here in southeastern Arizona. My plan would be, when not in D.C., to spend time, continuing to travel around the entire state and meet folks where they live and work and hear what what issues that they care about and what Washington, D.C. can do to help them.
Any thoughts on the recent gun debate issues in light of the mass shootings that we've had here, and of course with your wife's past history, of course? What's your thought on how do we fix this from not happening again in the future?
Well, sure. Well, I come at this as a gun owner. I mean, I own a lot of firearms. I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. At the same time, we have 40,000 people, including a lot of kids, that die from gun violence every year. Another 100,000 injured, but survive. The cost to our country it's incredible. And we need to do something about it. I mean, we need to take some common sense steps that most Arizonans support. Things like background checks for all gun sales. I mean, most folks in the state, well over 70%, think that's a good idea. We need to pass that kind of legislation. The reason we don't is we've got folks in Washington, D.C. who are more beholden to the gun lobby than they are to citizens here in Arizona. And that's what we need to fix.
When's the last time you've seen 2 Democratic senators in Arizona?
Before I was born. I think it's been 67 years. So it's been a while, but change is good. I had a former commanding officer of mine in the United States Navy, a guy named Terry Toms, that I really respected, and I learned so much from him about leadership. He used to say, if you're not changing it, it's getting worse.
Reporting from Clifton for the Gila Herald, I'm John Johnson.